This time I'm going to be talking to you about fidgeting. Fidgeting is something which we know a lot of our students do, and I've got to admit I am the biggest fidget. I can't watch television without knitting. If I'm on the phone, I'm pacing up and down, you know. I'm just not very good at sitting still. If I'm in a meeting, I have to doodle to concentrate. So I'm drawing, I'm doodling, making notes, writing, whatever, but just something to keep me busy. So one of the things I've devised is a fidget string. So you'll see I've got 4 strands of thread. What's important is, in this one I'm doing one that's texture based, so I've chosen 2 different types of wool, one sort of material, sort of soft thread cord, and one rougher cord. And the point about the fidget strings is that they are individually made for the children. So I've been asked before, why don't I produce these and sell them? I'm not interested in making money out of them. I'm interested in children focusing in class. So I basically do a 4-strand plait. So while I'm talking about fidgeting, I'm going to be making a fidget string which shows just how quickly it can be done. So basically you take the outside thread, go under 2 threads and then over 1, then the opposite outside thread, under 2, over 1, and you just keep doing that. So I developed this because it was actually the first thing I did in my last school where I was teaching. There was a child who just couldn't stay still, and the head teacher thought this child might have ADHD. And I observed this child in several different lessons, and I noticed that in science and maths, where there was an awful lot of practical stuff, this child was able to focus so easily. And I realised this child just needed a chance to move. And I'll talk about chances to move in a moment. So the first thing I then did is invent this fidget string. I thought he needed something with which he could fidget that wouldn't get taken away by other teachers, so teachers would realise this was actually something he was allowed. And I have to say that a few years later, when I saw him in the lunch queue when he'd gone into the secondary part of the school, he came up to me and he took his fidget string out of his pocket and said, "See, miss, still got it, still use it." And he had the same one, he'd kept it, bless him. And all it had done is just allowed him to fidget and focus his attention, and he was able to then just keep focused in class. So I find this useful. One of the reasons I haven't done it commercially is because it becomes very personal. The child chooses the threads. The child could choose according to colour, according to texture, and the child knows that this is a gift from me as an individual, not sort of just something gone out and I've gone out and bought for the child. There are, of course, so many wonderful fidgets on the market now. Some of them are really, really good. Some of them can be distracting for others though, because they can be noisy. The beauty of this particular thing that I've done here is that it's a silent fidget, so it's not going to hurt anyone. They can't throw it at anyone. It's silent, and because it's been made individually for that child, the other teachers know that this was given by me, and therefore the child has permission to be using it. So that's how quick it is to make. I've just made a fidget string. Just cut off those final threads and you'll see it's just simply threads. You can fidget with it, you can pull it, you can twist it, you can just, sometimes it's just that feeling, all the different textures. You've got the textures there on the end, which can be nice for some children. Some like to do this with it, some just like to hold it, some like to really, really pull at it, getting that tension out, and some of them just like the different feels. So a fidget string is one way of just allowing somebody who is a fidget to just focus a bit more. Another thing is to give, before I move on, I have one of these in every purse, pretty much every pocket of any coat I wear. Wherever I am, I happen to have one with me, and that's because I find this really good if I need to focus. I've also, if I go to, say, an important assembly in school, I might have a pocket full of these, and any child who's getting a bit fidgety, I might just slip them one of these, and then they just know to fidget with this. It keeps them calm. It seems to work. Another thing that I use in class is simply legitimate reasons to move. So a really simple thing can be getting the fidgety child to, or children, quite often there's more than one, to give out the books, to come up to the board, to write something, to mark something, to make a note of something, but just a legitimate reason to move around the room. Another thing that's incredibly useful for a lot of our fidgets is to be given a doodle book, a book in which they're allowed to just doodle. And it's that acknowledgement, that realization that the doodling, the scribbling, the drawing, whatever, isn't actually taking their focus away from the lesson, but actually instead it's helping the child to focus. For some children, the need to be physically active helps listening, helps focus. So it's very easy to see somebody sort of fidgeting and all the rest of it, swinging on their chair, whatever, and getting cross. But actually that child needs to move to focus. So if you give them a legitimate way of moving, it can help that child to focus. I'm not talking about extreme ADHD or anything like that. I'm talking about the simple fidget, which we know, without a legitimate way of fidgeting, you get the pencil tapping on the table, which can be so annoying. I'm as somebody who actually would do that and who would fidget in some way, I actually find the fidgeting of others incredibly annoying and distracting. So I find my thoughts can't flow and all the rest of it. So we do need to give these children legitimate means. As I say, there are fidget spinners, there are fidget cubes, there's all sorts of things out there. However, sometimes we need something that is silent, something that is different, and something that is really personal. Children will have very specific things they want. I have this whole bag of different wools and threads and cords. That's a round cord, I've got flat cord, I've got very, very soft wool, I've got fluffy wool, I've even got rough textures, some children prefer those, and different colours. And the fact that it's done individually for that child makes it that bit more special. They tend to look after it better, and so on. So it's about, another way is just sometimes refocusing. When children have been sat for a while, we as teachers often see that their attention is beginning to wander generally. Getting the children to stand up, to do some form of stretching, the sort of brain jimmy type things. So it could be that they're doing the crossover hand to knee, hand to knee, hand to knee, hand to knee. So with the knee coming up, that's also got the oxygen pumping because you're energized. It can be things like, there are finger things. You can do the things where you press your fingers together to strengthen them. You can do the sort of incy wincy spider type things where you go up and down your fingers. Breathing, where you rest it. It's amazing how 5 of those deep in, out breaths can actually be useful, not just for the pupils but for the teacher. I find when my voice is gradually getting more sort of frantic and high-pitched and fast, if I do with the class the whole sort of, let's all breathe together, you cross your feet one over the other, so you're crossing your midsection, hands rest, so head rested, sorry, chin rested on thumbs, and just breathing in through the nose and then out through the mouth. 5 of those and your voice becomes calmer, softer, and you get that mirroring effect where as you're calmer, the class are calmer. So all these different things, they can take a very short amount of time. So a quick get up, knees to chest, knees to chest and sort of hand on knees, whatever, stretching the arms, lazy 8s, whatever it happens to be, any of those things, that quick burst of energy, 30 seconds, a minute at the most, and yet you've refocused the children, refocused your class, you can concentrate back on the lesson. But this little fidget string, really easy to make, really helpful for a lot of our children. Thank you.